Hey, everybody. This is Regional Director Will Stuyvesant with Consumer Energy Options, just getting ready to do the announcements for today. First off, I want to thank everybody that's on the phone call. We find in CEO that those that are consistently plugged into these corporate calls are the ones that are out there gathering new customers and also recruiting new agents and helping them get their own customers. So we want to thank you at CEO for taking your time out today. I know all of you are busy to be able to help improve yourself and improve your business. Most of you know that right now is a great time to be selling natural gas because it's cold out and people are experiencing higher energy bills. So right now is a great time to go out and gather as many bills as you possibly can. And one of the great ways that once you get one of those bills to get paid much faster is through our direct energy portals. We're finding that paychecks are coming out within 4 to 8 weeks on our residential direct energy portals. That covers both natural gas and electricity, depending on what state that you're in. In addition to that, with these direct energy portals, it takes approximately between putting in your back office and the portals about 5 minutes, maybe 10 if you're a little slower than me, but it really doesn't take that long. So it's a great way to submit an account. It's a great way to accurately make sure that it goes through and is processed correctly. In addition to that, one of the things I'm always thinking about every single day is why would somebody get involved in CEO? And the first thing that always comes to my mind is the fact that we have no cost to get involved with us and that we offer a residual income that comes from services that are unconsciously purchased. And because they're unconsciously purchased, it makes us a recession-proof business. And we help people who are unknowingly and unnecessarily paying too much for their utility costs. We have no cap on our income or our promotions. If you work the CEO system, you can promote yourself throughout the company. You can do it through personal production, or you can go out and build a massive team and get promoted much faster. We have no boss to limit your income potential or your promotions. We're paid 29 different ways, four different ways personally, 4 different ways in direct overrides, and 21 different ways with our new promotional guidelines. One of the things I also like to cover, if you were to go out and make an extra $500 a month through investing, you would have to have about $50,000 invested in either the stock market or in real estate to get a $500 a month net return. In addition to that, if you're brand new, most people say, well, what do I do, Will, if I'm brand new? One, get your back office set up. Get your first account, typically your own, set up. Go through what we have that we call our basic training. You can find in your back office, it's a blue button just to the top right of the leaderboard. Click on that. It's a 26-page PowerPoint presentation. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to read through. And then go out and get a few bills. Go talk to your mother, brother, sister, best friend, or whatever, just so you can get some experience to see how easy our CEO system works and how fast we can help our clients and help get paid faster. One thing we also cover every week is our leaderboard. And to start off with natural gas, we have number 10, Aaron Allen, number 9, Doug Brown, number 8, John Graft, number 7, Rich Weinberg, number 6, Dave Besser, number 5, Matt Abraham, number 4, Will Stuyvesant, number 3, John Stensberg, number 2, Bob Zabik, number 1, Lisa Cornell. Congratulations to all of you that have made it onto the natural gas leaderboard. On our electricity leaderboard, we have number 10, Rosie Tesson, number 9, Shafte Cohen, number 8, Malcolm O'Brien, number 7, John Stensberg, number 6, Annie Serpa, number 5, Nathan Matelich, number 4, Dave Besser, number 3, Mark Milstein, number 2, Ken Anno, and number 1, Bob Zabik. On our team additions leaderboard, tied for number 4, we have Evadine Thomas and Will Stuyvesant. Tied for number 3, we have Michael Northern and Chosen Few Marketing. Number 2, Lisa Cornell, and number 1, Bobby Hill. So congratulations on behalf of myself and Nate and CEO. Those of you that are on the leaderboard know that you're going to have a check that follows. So, guys, I'd like to introduce our National Director, Nathan Matelich. He's got an action-packed power call ready to go. I'm so excited to hear what he has to talk about, and you should be too. Get your pens and paper ready to write down some notes. And take it away, Nate.
Hey, thanks, Will. So today I'm going to be focusing on two things. One, overcoming and finding success in tough times, and then also going to be talking about action steps you can take, and also some success stories. Just recently, my dad actually had open heart surgery, and went great, all that other good stuff. Still around, but one of his friends came and stopped by, and they, dropped off a little plaque that says, "Tough times don't last, but tough people do." My dad's probably had, 6 major surgeries in the last couple of years, just, because he's getting up there in age and a couple other things. But, that really has stuck with me. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. And so I have kind of some action steps that anyone could take just to improve their business. Maybe it's in good times, or even I know in Michigan some of the utilities are playing games with some of the rates. They're coming out with some extremely competitive rates, making it a little tougher to help people reduce their energy costs or show value. And so, whether it's now or whether it's in the future, I have some action steps that everyone can take. The first one is, get in the right mindset and start to take action. This is extremely important. Everything starts internally, and it's through an internal decision that you choose to externally take actions, put together a plan, pick up the phone, make a call, build a business, whatever it might be. And so one thing that I have been focusing on for the past couple of years and really doubling down and committing to this year is that I always told myself that I was not a morning person. I told myself that I was a night owl. In my baby book, my mom even wrote down that, Nathan is a night owl and likes to stay up late at night. But I started looking at my business, and I would stay up really late. I'd sleep in. I wouldn't really get my day started, and I just wouldn't get off on the right foot. And so I basically committed to saying, hey, instead of going to bed at between midnight and 2 a.m., I'm going to set a reminder to every night, start going to bed at, first it was midnight, and then it was 11:30, and then it was, and then it was 11, and then it was 10:30, and very slowly I started going to bed earlier, and I made a commitment to start getting up earlier. First I started getting up at 7 instead of 8 or 9. Then I started getting up at 6:30, then I started getting up at 6, then I started getting up at 5:45, and I use those mornings to, get in the right mindset, to really work on personal development. Every single morning I look at my goals for the week, and I look at my goals for the year. I do reading. I try to do a little exercise, go for a walk, go to the gym, whatever it might be. And what I decided is that if I truly wanted to reach my fullest potential and reach all my goals, first I started winning the morning battle. And then once I did that, I would win the day. If I could win the day, then I could win the week. Then if I could win the week, I could win, my month, and successfully fulfill those monthly goals, which turns into years, which turns into a lifetime. And so, it all starts with making a decision to, get your mind right, to develop yourself personally, to take the appropriate, actions. It just so happens for me, I decided that I needed to double down and win my morning so that I could accomplish everything that I need to in tough times and in good times. So get your mind right, take action. The second part is that each and every one of us are small business owners, and you really have to create that mindset of, how am I going to grow my business? How am I going to connect with other business owners? How am I going to be efficient? And to go along with that, you really have to manage your expenses. And, it's even before you jump in the car, just take 2 extra minutes to plan out your day. who are you going to drive and see? How can you do it, sequentially so that you're not burning a lot of gas? And then even everyone over the years has approached me, Nate, you should advertise here, you should advertise there. And I tried a lot of it, but I basically came down and figured out that there's one avenue. It just so happened to be a networking type group similar to a chamber of commerce or something of that nature. But, it was a networking group that I found that, I trimmed down all my expenses. I stopped, wasting money on certain things, and I really honed it down to where I get the most bang for my buck. So just something to be cognizant of. If you get up early in the morning, you set goals, write down those goals of what you want to focus on for controlling your expenses so that your take-home pay is more. The next thing is, in tough times, how can you do more with less? And going beyond that, how can you use leverage? There's a lot of businesses out there that look and they say, okay, how can I do more with less? I know that my wife, she stays at home. She works a couple hours a week for a small business owner out of Chicago. And one thing that I figured out is how could I do more with less? Well, I looked to my wife. I asked her if she could help me out with some of my marketing activities and help me, track some expenses and do some of those things. And ultimately, I have the same resource at my hands. I'm paying the same amount for certain things, yet I'm starting to get creative and figuring out how I can do more with less. When it comes to leverage, the great thing about consumer energy options is doing more with the same or more with less is that through our compensation plan, through our leadership incentives, anyone can go out there and build their small business. Refer a couple friends to come in and work with CEO to, sign up their friends, their small businesses that they know. And lots of business owners, they struggle for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, sometimes the whole life of their business to figure out how they can truly use leverage, whether it's financial leverage, whether it's, personnel leverage, bringing on more people to help grow their business. And they struggle their whole life to figure out how they can apply enough leverage to get their business to grow. The great thing about CEO is, all of the compensation, all of the leadership, everything's already built in. So the only thing that you have to do to apply leverage to your business and ultimately your income is invite a couple friends along for the ride. Show them what we're doing. And I've heard of a lot of our agents have a lot of success by showing a little bit about what CEO is about to their friends and family and just asking if they know anyone who'd be interested in making a little extra money and joining us. And half the time they get a good referral, and the other half the time their friend or family member jumps on board and joins us. So definitely keep that in front of mind. How can I apply leverage? Because as soon as you apply leverage, as soon as you grow your team, it's no longer the tough time versus you. It's the tough time versus you and your team. And, I know that as a lot of the consumer energy options consultants out there, on my team, as they have those successes, I might, experience a big rejection one day and I turn right around and someone's brought on, either a new team member or some more accounts, and I immediately get back to having a positive attitude. So how can you do more with less and provide and use leverage? The next bullet point is, how can you stand out from the competition? I know that for the past couple of years we've been really focusing and trying to, drive down on how consumer energy options can stand out from the competition. So we're really, on a corporate level, trying to do a lot of things to help you out. When there's big savings versus the public utilities, it seems like everyone wants to jump in and be an energy expert, but as soon as times get tough, everyone starts exiting the business. And some of the things that we're doing in order to try and give you a competitive advantage are things like, put up a new website so we have a very professional image, publicly. What else are we doing? We added utility audits. We're one of the only companies in the whole entire country that actually works on a customer's behalf to try and find them a refund, and it doesn't cost them anything out of pocket on the front end. We're adding business phone and internet so that we can be a one-stop shop. Between the utility audits, the telecom, the gas, the electric, more and more the decision makers, they just want to have one really good relationship that can help them with everything. And you can really set yourself out from the competition by talking about kind of our multifaceted approach to utility cost reduction. How else can you overcome tough times? Another bullet point: create urgency. There's a study that was done that talks about how however much time we give ourselves or someone in our group or a customer or whatever it might be, that you always expand your project to fill the amount of time that you're given. And so how do you create a sense of urgency? Set dates. Set a hard and fast date and attach it to a goal. And I know personally, once a week I write down the 3 to 5 things that I absolutely am committed to finishing that week. I figured out if you do more than 3 to 5 that you just don't get everything done. But right around 3 things that I pick out that I say, hey, by Sunday night I'm gonna get these done. Well, Saturday or Sunday rolls around, and if I've only accomplished 1 out of 3, well, I get pretty motivated to finish the other 2 things. The same thing goes for customers. Don't be afraid to put a price out there. If you do a savings analysis, that's good too. But attach a date to it or attach a timeline, and just tell the customer, say, hey, look, here's my proposal. If the energy market changes on a day-to-day basis, right now we can get you a good price and get you good savings, whatever the value is. But say, look, it's been my experience that we really need to make a decision on this within the next 7 days. And this isn't something that is a Nathan Matelich telling you or requiring you to do. This is based off of market movements and the ability to lock in a fixed price within the appropriate amount of time, because the train's going to leave the station. I want you to be on that train. If you want to be, and if this is a good fit. So don't want you to miss the train. Here's the date. Let's see. We should really work to get this done by, and then set a date. So the next thing is master the market of the moment. And when I say master the market of the moment, every single market, it doesn't matter if you're looking at the financial services market, it doesn't matter if you're looking at the real estate market, the commodities market, the durable goods market. Every market changes through your standard business cycles. So what you need to do is you need to double down and you need to create a commitment to mastering and knowing what's going on in the market. For those of you who are on the call here before we got fired up, we were talking a little bit about what's going on in the market, and knowing how to compare what value we're bringing to the table compared to what's going on in the market compared to what right now compared to what has historically gone on in the market. And so instead of just comparing, what we're offering to what the utility was offering this month, when you master the market and hey, NICOR has, historically been 45 cents on average for the past 3 years. We can offer you a fixed-rate gas contract for 33, 34 cents a term for 12 or 24 months. All of a sudden, by mastering the market of today and knowing how it compares historically, that's how you're going to get through the tough times and overcome the objections of, hey, well, maybe the utility is a little bit less than what your current fixed rate offering is. So the next part is you need to create a bulletproof transaction. And when I say a bulletproof transaction, what I mean is that you need to prepare, so that when you go and you sit down with a customer, and this could be it could be someone that you want to bring onto your team to help grow the energy business. This could be a customer that's a school district, a municipality, a large manufacturer. Always prepare, because there's a quote that says, those who fail to prepare to fail. So just even simple things such as, having a system that you always go through, before you go and meet with someone or present. I know that before I leave my house, there's always 3 things that I always, make sure that are in my pockets: my phone, my keys, and my wallet. And so it's super simple. It takes me 2 seconds because I do it every day. You need to have the same type of routine when you go and you present to a customer or someone you're looking to bring onto your team. So the other thing is that in order to overcome tough times, you need to find and Warren Buffett is really famous for saying, be weary when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are weary. And what he's talking about is that when the market is just, obviously he's talking about the financial services market and the stock market. When it's charging upwards and upwards, and it gets to the point where, even the barber and the guy at the tire shop are saying, invest, buy. Warren Buffett's saying that's when you need to be weary. But when the market takes an absolute, when it tanks and it's at some of its lowest points, kind of like what we see, that's when the guys like Warren Buffett are saying, okay, time to get greedy, time to figure out where the opportunities are. And as soon as you can create that mindset of, the obstacle or the challenging markets, produce opportunities, that's when you're truly going to have success. And in down markets, a lot of people get frustrated because they're making, less money or less sales. But the most successful small business owners are saying, okay, a lot of my competition, they're not tough, they're not going to survive, they're going by the wayside. Now is the time that I can truly gain market share, and I can increase my market share from 10% to 20%. Well, guess what? If you increase your market share in the downturn, as soon as the market swings back up and gets really hot again, all you have to do is maintain that market share, and you'll be twice as good off as what you were before. A couple more things. Take massive action. 90% of the challenge is sometimes just showing up. I went to an energy summit just yesterday. Ended up sitting just by coincidence by a very influential individual in the business. We got to talking, and I found some really big opportunities. And originally, I just thought, it's just another luncheon. It's just another energy summit thing with a couple speakers. No big deal. It'll probably be boring. But because I took massive action, because I showed up, because I opened my mouth and asked this individual, who are you? What are you up to? What makes you tick? Just by showing up, I found some great opportunities. So take massive action. Don't be afraid to fail, because the most successful individuals in the world find their success because they were willing to do just a little bit more than when everyone else was, either quitting or stopped. And the last bullet point for this is expand your circle of influence. For tough times, you can no longer just say, I'm just going to stick with what I've always done. I'm just going to talk to the same people that I've always talked to. You really need to expand your circle of influence, and there's really easy ways to do that, and many of them, cost little to no money. Getting out and going to a networking group, there's some networking groups where all you got to do is show up and, pay $2 for a coffee and meet all kinds of, very influential business people in your community. Volunteer. it's amazing how some of the brightest, most well-connected, successful individuals get out there and they're volunteering about causes that are really important to them. And then the last thing is just don't be afraid to ask for referrals. Everyone that you run into, ask if they know of anyone who needs to reduce their utility costs. Ask if they had any friends who were complaining about their really large utility bill. That's usually the number one complaint out there that signals, hey, they need my help. So bottom line is, the obstacle is the way. Those people who look at obstacles and shut down, they will never, ever reach the level of success that they want to. I was just cruising around the internet this morning, and I said, hey, what successful CEOs of companies, experience some sort of obstacle in their life? CEO of Goldman Sachs had dyslexia. Richard Branson's dyslexia. Steve Jobs has dyslexia. Along with the CEOs of Bitcoin, JetBlue, Charles Schwab, IKEA, Tommy Hilfiger, Hewlett Packard, Henry Ford, and Ken Turner, they all had some sort of challenge or disability or, trouble reading in school, lots of different things. And what all these individuals did is they said, hey, the obstacle is the way. I will find opportunities where other people see obstacles. And the best example is the CEO of Goldman Sachs, one of the largest investment banks in the world, who had dyslexia. Because he had, a tough time reading, he had a really tough time in school, what he had to do is he would always get, like D's and F's in school. But after every single test, he would go to the teacher and he would start negotiating. And he would negotiate his grade from an F to a D, from a D to a C, from a C to a B, or a B to an A. And through that ability to talk and communicate and connect and negotiate with people, he was able to hone his skills so that one day he's out walking around New York. There was a big-time financial guy, jumps in a cab, and he said, hey, maybe this will be my opportunity. I should see if I can share a cab with this guy. Well, the financial guy who looked and sounded like he's quote unquote big time, the CEO of Goldman Sachs started talking to him, and this guy said, hey, do you know anything about options? I hear that options are going to be the way of the future for the financial markets. And even though the CEO of Goldman Sachs knew nothing about options, he knew how to communicate, negotiate. He put himself out there. He said, yes, I'm gonna learn and tell you everything I know about options. Next thing you knew it, climbing the ladder, ends up being the CEO of Goldman Sachs. And so, where a lot of people would say, I have trouble in school, I have trouble reading, I have ADD, ADHD, whatever it might be, an obstacle or a challenge, a lot of these people who are the most successful in the world flip that and they say, okay, even though I had that challenge, what type of skill sets am I going to develop to overcome that and to be very, very successful? One of the CEOs of these companies who had dyslexia, I believe, he came out with a great TED Talk. It's one of my favorites that talked about how do you raise children to be entrepreneurs. And an entrepreneur can be someone that gets involved with consumer energy options, that starts their own business, or they can even be a successful entrepreneur inside of a very large corporation. And what this CEO did is he said, okay, what traits does someone need in order to be successful in any business, and how can I teach these traits to my children? And, I love this video before I had children. I love it more now that I have two children. But what he realized is that in order to be successful, what do you need to be good at? You need to find opportunities. You need to be creative. You need to be good at public speaking, storytelling, or communicating with others. You need to be able to negotiate. You need to be able to, have a certain level of reading comprehension, or a way to engage in personal self-development. And so what this successful CEO of a tech company did is he said, okay, I'm not just going to hand out an allowance to my kids. I'm going to make them find opportunities around the house, different jobs and things that they can make money at. And then I'm going to have them come and negotiate how much that is worth to both them and myself. And once the negotiation process is finished, then they have to have enough hard work and diligence to complete the task. And so instead of, just giving the kids a handout, he's teaching them some very important lessons that they can carry on to be successful entrepreneurs, small business owners, or even work in a very large business or corporation. To be creative and to work on public speaking and storytelling. There's 7 nights a week. 3 nights a week, either he or his wife reads to the kids. The other 3 nights a week, the kids read to the parents. And then the last night of the week, the family gets together, everyone grabs 3 objects from around the house, and they have to tell a story using those 3 objects. And so, he's teaching his kids how to not be afraid of getting up in front of an audience, to talk, to tell stories, and to learn how to communicate that way. And so when I look at all of those things that make CEOs of these large corporations successful and what they're teaching to their children, what they're really saying is, hey, go out and learn how to find opportunities, negotiate, tell the story, be creative. And all of these things, you don't necessarily have to have gotten, A or B's or 3.5 or 4.0 GPAs in school. All these things are stuff that you can work on and teach yourself, on a regular basis. So if there's one takeaway that I had from, whether it's, watching these TED Talks, reading these books, is that, it truly comes down to the obstacle is the way. And the last point I'll make on that topic is I read a book called The Millionaire Mind. And what it did is it really took a deep dive and study of the most affluent individuals in the whole United States and how they got to that point. And the interesting thing is these individuals, they weren't necessarily, big fancy stockbrokers that wore $2,000 suits and would, stop by, Starbucks twice a day and spend $10 on coffee, but rather it was, salt of the earth, blue collar, individuals that they didn't get 4.0 GPAs, and they weren't the best looking, they weren't the smartest, they didn't come from families that handed them, life on a silver platter. They all had an obstacle that they had to overcome. And because they had those obstacles, they had to figure out how to be creative, go out, open their own businesses, and find other ways, other ways than just depending on their pedigree or their looks to go out and be successful. And it all started with them having their own personal obstacle that they overcame. So with that, I'm gonna wrap this up. I just have one success story for today. Mark Milstein, regional director. He's been doing a great job out there. And in ComEd for the larger accounts, there's actually something called commercial hourly, which is a true variable rate electricity plan, which has just wildly massive swings. It can go from 4.5 cents a kilowatt all the way up to 9 cents a kilowatt, depending on the month and the demand and everything like that. And very similar to what we see in the natural gas markets. 2 years ago, we saw gas prices go from 45 cents a therm all the way up to $1.20 per therm. Some people saw $12, $16 an MCF. The way that Mark approached his customers is we basically said, hey, look, you're on a variable rate. You've seen these massive price swings everywhere from 4.5 cents up to 9 cents. Right now, you're paying 5.6 cents a kilowatt. We can offer you a fixed rate price for 12 or 24 months for just a little bit over 6 cents a kilowatt, and where most people would see that as being an obstacle, that we're offering a fixed price at a higher rate than what they're currently paying. What Mark was able to do and communicate to the customer was, hey, look, you could lock it in, get a guaranteed price, not have to get burned this winter, this summer, next winter, next summer, whatever it might be with these massive price swings, and lock it in and have a guaranteed budget amount. And so Mark successfully signed up that it was probably a medium to large customer, maybe a large customer, and had success doing that. And so bottom line is, instead of seeing an obstacle and giving up, there's so many opportunities out there. This is one example of showing the value of a fixed rate, where we didn't even put together a savings analysis, because the true value was that business owner didn't want to get burned by having, paying 9 cents a kilowatt instead of 6. It doesn't matter if it's overcoming obstacles like that. It doesn't matter if it's overcoming obstacles like myself, of just, finding extra motivation and figuring out what my why was, why I wanted to get up and, conquer the morning so I could conquer my day, or even, the obstacles of being in a small town, or figuring out how to expand your network. So, long story short, at the end of the day, I would just encourage everyone to, seek out obstacles, seek out challenges, and, if you're able to overcome those, you're just going to be that much better off, and that's where you're going to find true success. So, with that, if anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer those.
Nate?
Yeah.
Hey, Nate, it's Will. I didn't realize we weren't muted out, and I apologize. I went and started my car, so if anybody heard that background noise, I apologize. I just wanted to piggyback on what you had said. First off, guys, one of the things, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but Nate is a huge advocate of self-development, and it's great every time he gets on these calls, because he gives us nuggets of information that can help keep us on the go with this business. This business, frankly, is a pretty simple business, but the fact is what you have to do to stay consistent with it is work on your mind. It really is overcoming yourself, not necessarily getting a new customer or bringing a new person on your team. And just to give you an idea as far as mindset, I agree with Nathan that if you were to go rate to rate, that could be an obstacle in your mind, if you will. However, if you think about it this way, no matter at any point in time, rate to rate, a variable typically is always lower in every scenario than a fixed. So it's not necessarily focusing on where the rate is right now versus where it's been and where it can go. And based on what Nathan had just said, the range was, for example, in his scenario, 4.5 to 9 cents, locked in at 5.6. The current variable could have been at 4.5, and he was offering a 5.6 or whatever the rate is. The point is to go to really have an understanding, and the leaders of this company understand this, where the price has been, for example, and where it could potentially go. And being in this business as long as I've been in it, the only complaints I ever hear from a client typically is that their bill spiked, and the likelihood of the bill spiking is they were on a variable program, whether they were with a public utility or whether they were with another supplier on a variable type program. So that's all I have, Nate. Good job, buddy.
Oh, thanks. Absolutely. Well, and the best thing to do is really come up with your own analogies that you can use. And my favorite one is, just asking the customer, hey, do you personally have a fixed rate or a variable rate on your home mortgage? Okay, you have a fixed rate. Why do you have a fixed rate? Well, I have a fixed rate because, I don't want to pay an 18% interest rate like what we saw in the year X, Y, and Z. Okay, great. If I was to compare what you're currently on with your utility right now, you would currently be on an adjustable rate mortgage with your utility. That's in essence how they're pricing your natural gas or electricity. The good news is that I have the opportunity for you to switch from an adjustable rate mortgage over to a fixed rate mortgage. How does that sound? And as soon as you can, sometimes the energy market industry is kind of this obscure thing that people have a tough time wrapping their mind around, and, that creates a challenge for them. As soon as you can come up with some super simple analogies that everyone across the board understands, that's when you also find some good success. Are there any other questions out there? Questions, comments? All right. Well, with that, thanks everyone for joining us. I would definitely encourage you, figuring out, how you can, wake up in the morning and put together your success plan for the day so you can win the day. I'd encourage you to go out there and identify all of the obstacles in your life that are keeping you from reaching, your goal of, making enough money to buy a new car, pay for that home mortgage, go full time with this, make six figures, whatever it is. And as soon as you're able to identify every single obstacle, write it down, and figure out how to overcome those, that's truly when you're really going to start enjoying some nice success. So thanks, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you at the top. Have a great day.
Thank you, Nathan.